Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Whatever the week may have been like, this is a particularly joyful Shabbat. Shabbat in and of itself is an oasis of respite and joy in the week, but this Shabbat also is Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath of the song. What song are we talking about? Shirat Hayam, the song of the sea, the song that Moses and Miriam sing with the Israelites at their moment of liberation as they're crossing the sea from slavery to freedom. So that in and of itself is a joyful thing. And in the Torah, the page of the Song of the Sea is written unlike any other page in the Torah. It has a right column, a left column, and a middle column, kind of like the Israelites and the shores of the sea and the Israelites passing through the center. With a little imagination, you can look at the page and see our ancestors on that epic journey. And it's a joyful Shabbat because it's Shabbat Tu B'Shvat. It's the Shabbat closest to Tu B'Shvat. That's that minor Jewish holiday, but an upbeat one that actually was on Thursday, yesterday. And it's the New Year of Trees. And tomorrow morning we'll be having our annual Seder Tu B'Shvat, celebrating the fruits of Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, and the different layers of interpretation that have come to that by the mystics over the centuries, and of course songs that celebrate trees. So that's why we began the service with the Nigun this evening for Shabbat Shirah, the Song of the Sea Nigun. And when we reach the Michamocha, we'll be singing it with a special melody in honor of Shabbat Shirah. And then our middle and closing songs will be in honor of Shabbat Tu B'Shvat. We continue our welcome of Shabbat now with the singing of Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekavela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekavela Shamor v'zachor v'divor echad Ishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila
Lecha Dodi
Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekavela Likrat Shabbat Lechu v'nelecha Ki mekora v'raka Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh v'maksheva tekila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekavela Itorri Ki ba'orek u'mi'ori Uri Shir daberi Kivod Adonai Alayik nikla Lecha
Dodi
Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekavela.
We rise and face the entrance to the synagogue.
Nomi v'shalom b'teren b'ala Gam b'simcha u'tzora Toch emuneh am segura Boi kala Lecha
Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekavela. We remain standing for our call to worship, the Baruch Hu, page 28.
Baruch hu et Adonai
Please be seated. In honor of Tu B'Shvat, I wanted to read the poem actually on the previous page. So if you would just turn back one page to page 27. Lamdeni Elohai barech v'hitpalel al sod alei kamel, al noga pri vashel. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Together. Teach my lip of blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine in my ways. On page 31, praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv haravim. From the world around us to the world within us, Ahavat Olam, page 32. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael. We join together in the Shema and the V'ahavta.
נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובלי שעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
As I mentioned at the beginning, the Mi Chamocha takes on special significance on this Shabbat Shirah, this Sabbath of the song this evening. When you're chanting in the Torah, the Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, it's always, I find, a very special moment just to be chanting that unique passage. But when you get to the words Mi Chamocha, and you see them right there in the Torah, it's this first part of the prayer that's actually part of Shabbat, rather Shirat Hayam. And by the way, the Hebrew of this poetry is really archaic and just almost sounds different than the rest of the Hebrew, if you know biblical Hebrew well. And scholars will tell us that it's probably the oldest passage of the entire Torah. And they think, based on their careful study of Hebrew and its development, whether it changes in kind of every century, that it may have been composed within a century or two of the actual Exodus event, which would be very special. Mi Chamocha, page 40. Last week we sang the next prayer, Hashkivenu, with a little addition by the contemporary Jewish reggae composer, Matisyahu. Are we doing that tonight as well?
We are doing that, and I actually have a little thing about Matisyahu. When I worked for Birthright Israel, and I was helping lead some tours, magically one morning, someone said, would you guys like to have dinner with Matisyahu?
Ooh.
So I actually got to have dinner, the entire birthright group, 40 of us, went and had dinner with Matisyahu in Jerusalem. And every time that I hear this song, I think, oh my God, I met him in Jerusalem. And it's just a special memory.
He rocketed to fame maybe 10 to 15 years ago. His most famous song, One Day, this will be an excerpt. We've sung it in confirmation class, but there's a really cute YouTube video of Matisyahu walking into a cafe near his home, and he had changed appearance from like semi-Hasidic to more secular, and in there's a guy playing his guitar, singing his song. But he doesn't recognize him. So Matisyahu goes over and adds some harmony. And then at the end, somebody in the cafe says, do you know who this is? It's Matisyahu. And the guy could not believe it. It's a great video. It's available on YouTube. Anyway. I've actually watched many different covers, clips of One Day when we were preparing it for confirmation class. And the song has been performed all over the world. And so you can see One Day by a Filipino reggae group and in Africa. And it's really extraordinary. And choirs, youth choirs, and adult choirs as well. Very special. Vishamru is special, and that's on page 44. are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. The Tfilah Amidah prayer, page 46. Please rise. Please be seated. On page 59, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shimcha, lecha na'eh le'odot. We always give thanks for the possibility of peace. Shalom Rav, page 60.
Cantor,
now at the end of the Amidah. Our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones in need of healing, be this a healing of body or healing of soul. I'd actually like to include my mother in this prayer of healing this evening. After going 3 years escaping COVID, she now has COVID. It's not a mild case. It's not a severe case. It's kind of in the middle, moderate. And while I'm thinking about it, I should also include my aunt, her younger sister. She also has COVID for the first time, and this is down in DC. Also not severe, not mild, but somewhere in the middle. And as we think about other people we may know or not know, we join together in the words of the healing prayer. On NPR this morning, I happened to hear an interview with an author who writes about something called chaos theory. And he said human beings are hardwired to seek out patterns in nature and in everything else, because by identifying patterns, it helps us predict things and it adds to our security. You know, I think we're also hardwired to respond more to bad news than to good news. It's just part of our survival mechanism because we want to be detecting threats all the time. But in this epic portion of this week, it's Miriam, and who says, we need to celebrate what we've just been through. And the Torah says that Miriam took her cell phone, no, her tambourine, just kidding, and she said to all the women, let's get up and dance. Let's celebrate. So as we pause now for our own moment of silent prayer, can we think about a moment of joy, a moment of uplift, where we left behind the negative and experienced something beautiful? We pause for that thought.
הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על ביתם והתינוקת שמורי לי הטוב, על האש המבוערת, על המים הזכים, על האיש השב הביתה מן המרחקים, על כל אלה, שמור נא לי אלי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על נטע קור נטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, השיבני והשובה אל הארץ הטובה. על כל אלה, שמור נא לי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על נטע קור נטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, השיבני והשובה אל הארץ הטובה.
In honor of Tu B'Shvat this evening, I'd like to tell the story of a remarkable, intriguing figure in the Talmud who's been called the Jewish Johnny Appleseed. And he didn't plant apple trees. His name, Honi the Circle Maker, planted carob trees throughout the land. And were you able to bring them?
I forgot to bring them. I brought Sandy and Deb, but I left them on the table.
You'll bring them tomorrow?
I will really.
Lauren, for those of you at home seeing me look at somebody here, Lauren actually found some raw carobs to show people and possibly to eat, because I myself ate raw carobs when I lived in Israel. They grow plentifully in the land of Israel. I guess they grow in Southern California
I knew a couple of trees.
as well. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, what it looks like, I printed out a picture, and I'm going to pass that around. And at the same time, I was so intrigued a long time ago by this Jewish Johnny Appleseed figure that he became the subject of my second book. This book is called Honi the Circle Maker, Eco-Fables from Ancient Israel. I wrote this more than 30 years ago. Not only is it sadly out of print, but the publisher, a wonderful publisher, connected to actually the Methodist Church, Churches of America, it no longer exists as well, Friendship Press. But you can look through and see some of the original illustrations that were done for this, which are in my office, in fact, as I tell the story. But I have to tell you that because I was talking and referencing Johnny Appleseed, I said to myself this year, I need to read up a little bit more about Johnny Appleseed, because the last time I really learned and thought about him was back in grade school. And I discovered a couple of things that we might not know. Johnny Appleseed's real name was John Chapman, born in Massachusetts, 1774 to 1845. Now, he was just a really interesting individual. He didn't exactly go around planting apple trees just anywhere. Matter of fact, he planted them in very neatly organized nurseries. And then he would make business arrangements with the settlers in these communities to look after the growing trees, the nurseries, and enter into a profit-sharing agreement. And he became quite wealthy, despite the fact that he looked and dressed like a pauper all his life. Now, he was also a missionary for his church, and that was every time he planted a nursery of apple trees, he would also hand out literature and talk to people about his church. In those days, people didn't eat apples. They did not eat apples. So why was he planting? Does anybody have a guess?
They gave it to the horses.
Well, they might have to some extent.
Or the drink.
The most popular drink in America at that time was cider, fermented cider. And so it was the most popular alcoholic drink in the United States at that time as well. So you might call him the self-made pauper. But here's another interesting thing. His church did not believe in grafting, which is the way that most trees are propagated. So he only planted by seed. And what this meant is that the trees would not necessarily grow up exactly the same, because with grafting you can control that. And so many of the varieties of apples that we have today for eating and for other purposes do originate from the variety of seeds that he planted over time. These cultivars, as they call them, are part of his legacy. His legacy has been enhanced as a kind of ecological hero. There was a period of time when he fell into obscurity, but his legend has been revived. And certainly we can say that Johnny Appleseed, from the little I've told you, was an American original. And so too was Honey the Circle Maker. We only have 3 small episodes, legends from his life, but the legacy of this miracle-working Jewish Johnny Appleseed. Now, why do I say that? Because the best-known story about Honey the Circle Maker, evidently when he was a young man, is he came across a much older man planting a carob tree. And in the Talmud, it does states that he asked the old man, how long does it take for a carob tree to bear fruit? And the old man said, 70 years. And Honey said, well, you won't be alive. Why are you doing this? And then comes the famous line in the Talmud, just as I planted for my ancestors, so I will, just as my ancestors planted for me, so I will plant for my children. It's a beautiful line in the Talmud, and we quote it very often. By the way, a carob tree does not take 70 years to bear fruit. Like most trees, in the 3rd or 4th year, it begins fruiting. So what did this person mean? Well, it could be that to be totally, fully mature, be a completely full-grown tree, it might take 70 years. But even there, that's an exaggeration. It may be because this story is apocryphal and tied to another episode in Honey's life, where he falls asleep for 70 years. So Honey the Circle Maker is also the Jewish Rip Van Winkle. Yes, he is. He's a man for all seasons. According to the legends, after he has the encounter with the man in the carob tree, he devoted his life to planting carob trees all around the land of Israel, hence the apple seed comparison. But the story about him falling asleep ends in a very enigmatic and somewhat sad way, because he falls asleep, God causes like a rock formation to form around him, so nobody sees him. And then he awakes, according to this legend, 70 years later. And he walks into the town, and nobody recognizes him, and he doesn't recognize anything that's going on. And he says, "Does anybody know me, Honi the circle maker?" And they start laughing at him. And they say, "Oh, your grandson, the grandson of Honi the circle maker is a resident of this village. Honi the circle maker died many, many years ago, and even his son is not alive." And then Honi ventures into, according to the rabbinic legend, the house of study in the village, the Beit Midrash, and they're quoting him. But, they're agreeing with him, they're disagreeing with him, and he stands up and says, "I'm Honi the circle maker." And they just laugh once again. And he's very sad. And the end of the story, the end of his life comes very quickly. He says, "Without companionship, it's only death. There is no life." And he dies. And that's the end of the story. My stories, some of them are based on these legends, and they are also made up, some of them based on other legends, and all tied together. My ending is not so sad in the book. Finally, the third, and this is the last of the stories, is a possible clue as to why he was called the circle maker. There are a variety of theories, but this is the one that actually I told to the preschool top program with a little dramatics and show and tell last Sunday. There was a drought in the land of Israel. That's nothing new. And the people came to Honi, the circle maker, because he was known as a wonder maker, miracle maker. And they said, "Please pray for rain. Bring rain for us. Only you can do that." And Honi, the circle maker, and this is on the cover of the book, he walks to the center of town, draws a circle in the sand, stands in the middle, and beseeches God. Sure enough, it starts to rain, but it begins to pour, and it doesn't stop. And so the people of the village make a circle around Honi and say, "Pray for the rain to stop." And so the rain calms down, becomes just a pleasant little drizzle. And to the people of the town, Honi is a folk hero. He definitely is a sage and a folk hero at the same time. But it's never that simple, because in the Talmud, there's an epilogue, an appendix to the story that says Honi was brought to the court, to the Sanhedrin, and he was threatened with excommunication for using his magical powers to inappropriately approach God. But he was not impeached, he was exonerated, and the leader of the court said, "Honi the circle maker has a special relationship with God, and we should respect that." I could go on, but I'll stop there. But we remember well Honi the circle maker. I do want to mention on this Shabbat Tu B'Shvat that the ark doors that we're about to open now, if you look closely, actually have Shivat Haminim, the 7 species of trees and fruits that symbolize the land of Israel that we'll be talking about tomorrow morning. You can clearly see for example, pomegranate, dates, figs, olives, and so forth on this tree. These doors were gifted to us by Congregation Sons of Israel here in Leonia, a conservative congregation that sadly closed its doors, I think 15 years ago now. They wanted a remembrance of their congregation in Leonia, so they gave us these special doors and we installed them. That's a beautiful thing. So we will open the doors to the Ark as we turn to the Emuno, the bottom of page 282. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גאולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתקעים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שבונות שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושן יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום להשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו עוד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
I'd like to add that the center Torah cover, which was made by my wife Debbie in honor of the 150th anniversary of this congregation a few years ago, features beautiful pomegranates. And actually those pomegranates were made by my mother-in-law, who was a master embroiderer in Jerusalem. Two conservative synagogues in Jerusalem and our synagogue bear the legacy of some of her beautiful works, and this evening is her yortzeit. As we think about those who are no longer with us, we call to mind those taken from our midst. I do want to mention the terrible loss of life in Israel, 25 soldiers who were killed in Gaza this week. We mourn all the loss of life at that time, and although this is not a Jewish observance, I also want to mention that tomorrow is International Holocaust Remembrance Day for much of the world, so we are thinking particularly also of all those who have no one to say Kaddish, lost in the Holocaust. And on this Shabbat, in love and reverence, the yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Sidel Lewitter, mother of Fran Shulman, Lois Katchen, sister of Muriel Reed, Abe Kramer, brother of Miriam Wohl, Miriam Schumann, mother of Debbie Schwartz, Sigmund Rosenholtz, grandfather of Bill Ziegler, Martha Seymour, mother of Michael Seymour, Manny Beckerman, father of Eric Beckerman, Frida Roberg, mother of Kurt Roberg. For all those close to our hearts and for all those for whom there may be no one to say Kaddish, we join in the Kaddish prayer on page 294. Yitkada v'yitkadash shemei Rabba be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'hayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'zman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi shemei Rabba merach le'olam v'amei amaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'reichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechmata ta'amirat v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Michael?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi. And the thought hit me immediately that you and student Cantor Iris should collaborate on an opera about Honey, the circle maker.
Joe will star as Honey.
Sure. Yes. I can definitely come back to sing Honey.
Do we have any angels in the audience who want to?
We have angels everywhere.
Angels everywhere. And thank you, student Cantor Flaxman. And it was a pleasure to see you and hear you play the guitar and sing your songs. It's a treat. In place of Torah study tomorrow, we'll be celebrating Tu B'Shvat, the New Year of Trees, with a festive Seder featuring a variety of fruits. The Seder begins at 10 a.m. and not 11 a.m., as is shown on the temple calendar. Religious school will be in session Sunday as usual. Sally and Michael Seymour, world travelers, will be talking about their recent trip to Morocco and share many of their photos on Sunday, February 4th at 10 a.m., a week from this Sunday. Refreshments will be served. Please come to hear these new members and share in their adventures. Their talk will include a look at the history of the historic Jewish communities of Fez and Marrakesh. The Emuno book club is reading Leaving Eastern Parkway by Matthew Daub, and the book club's meeting is on March 11th via Zoom. Excuse me, did I make a mistake there?
I don't think so.
No, okay. That's unusual. I didn't make a mistake. The book concerns a 15-year-old Hasidic boy whose life is upended when his parents die in an accident, and it's written by a first-time novelist and has received very good reviews. Our Social Action Committee, led by Annette DeMarco, is continuing its Super Bowl food drive, and we're collecting non-perishable soups between now and February 11th. The date of the football Super Bowl, and we're still collecting diapers sizes 4, 5, and 6. And Barbara and Aunt Phyllis, we all wish you a speedy recovery. Tonight's Oneg is sponsored by Fran Schulman in memory of the yahrzeit of her mother, Sidel Witter. And thank you, Dylan, for live streaming tonight's service. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Although in North America, Tu B'Shvat is not really the beginning of spring in any sense. That's still a ways away. In the land of Israel, typically the first signs of spring are coming, and the first tree to blossom is the almond tree, a very beloved song in Israel, sung on Tu B'Shvat, is about the almond tree, and it's actually in the book. So as a closing song, we can turn to page 368. It's called the Shkedia, the almond tree. The almond tree is blooming and a golden sun shines.
We're going to start with the chorus. Tu b'shvat higia chag ha'ilanot. Tu b'shvat higia chag
Ha'Ilanot,
Tu b'shvat higia chag
Ha'Ilanot,
Tu b'shvat higia chag
Ha'Ilanot.
השקדיה פורחת ושמש בצורחת, ציפורים מראש כל גג מבצרות את בוהחת. ט"ו בשבט הגיע חג האילנות, ט"ו בשבט הגיע חג האילנות. איתה כל הבקע מדן ועד באר שבע, בארצנו שוב ניטש, ארץ זית חלב ודבש. ט"ו בשבט הגיע חג האילנות, ט"ו בשבט הגיע חג האילנות, ט"ו בשבט הגיע חג האילנות, ט"ו בשבט הגיע חג האילנות.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.